The acrid stench of ozone and blood filled Zeke's nostrils as he stood over the twitching body of his fallen opponent. The alien's iridescent carapace was cracked, oozing viscous purple fluid onto the arena-scorched metal floor. Zeke's chest heaved, his muscles burning from exertion, the cuts and bruises from the brutal fight already beginning to throb. He looked up at the ring of floating platforms surrounding the arena, each one crowded with beings of every imaginable shape and size. Their tentacles, appendages, and sensory organs waved in frenzied excitement. A cacophony of shrieks, bellows, and electromagnetic pulses assaulted his ears. The sounds of the galactic elite reveling in their favorite entertainment, watching humans fight to the death. Zeke's gaze locked onto a tall, spindly figure with pale blue skin and compound eyes. Grand Arbiter Zixix, the being who had sentenced him and countless other humans to this hellish existence. The alien's mandibles clicked in what Zeke recognized as amusement. Excellent showing, Earth Primate Zixix's voice boomed through hidden speakers. You continue to prove why your species is the galaxy's premier gladiatorial stock. Rest up. You'll need your strength for tomorrow's games. As the force field deactivated and armed guards approached to escort him back to the holding cells, Zeke's fingers curled into fists. His eyes darted to the other human gladiators watching from their pens. In that moment, a silent agreement passed between them. No more. Tomorrow everything would change. Rain pressed his back against the cool metal wall of the narrow maintenance shaft, willing his breathing to slow. The rhythmic thud of guard patrols echoed through the corridor outside. He closed his eyes, visualizing the path ahead based on the crude map tattooed on his forearm, a patchwork of information gleaned from overheard conversations and brief glimpses of restricted areas. A hand touched his shoulder. Kaito, his cellmate and closest friend in this nightmare, gave him a reassuring nod. Behind Kaito crouched Zeke, Nikolai, and Darius, the core of their makeshift rebellion. 5 humans brought together by circumstance, united by a desperate desire for freedom. Rain's mind drifted to the hundreds of other human captives scattered throughout the massive space station. Some were fellow gladiators, others servants or lab specimens, all of them counting on the success of this insane plan. He took a deep breath, steeling himself. Remember, Rain whispered, we've got one shot at this. If we fail, we won't. Zeke interrupted, his voice hard with determination. We can't. Kaito nodded. For Earth. For freedom, Nikolai added. For revenge, Darius growled. Rain allowed himself a grim smile. For all of it. Let's move. Grand Arbiter Zixix lazily waved a 3-fingered hand, and the holographic display before him changed to show the next set of combatants. He chittered in anticipation. The day's main event was about to begin. Esteemed guests, he addressed the gathered dignitaries, prepare yourselves for a true spectacle. 5 of our most vicious human gladiators pitted against the dreaded Chronaxian behemoth. Excited murmurs rippled through the observation deck. The Chronaxian behemoth was a legendary monster capable of taking on entire platoons of lesser species. To see it face mere humans, it promised to be a slaughter of epic proportions. Zixix's aide, a willowy creature with gossamer wings, leaned in close. Grand Arbiter, there seems to be a slight delay. The human combatants haven't yet arrived at the staging area. Zixix's compound eyes narrowed. Unacceptable. Send guards too. His words were cut off by a deafening explosion. The entire station shuddered, sending glasses of exotic liquors crashing to the floor. Alarm klaxons began to wail. What is the meaning of this? Zixix screeched, mandibles flaring in agitation. The aide's wings buzzed nervously. It appears there's been an attack on the primary power core. There were still no auxiliary systems. Another explosion rocked the station, and the lights flickered ominously. Rain sprinted down the corridor, alarms blaring in his ears. Behind him, Kaito and Nikolai laid down, covering fire with stolen pulse rifles, keeping the pursuing guards at bay. The acrid smell of ozone filled the air as energy bolts sizzled past. Zeke, Status Rain barked into the crude communicator they'd cobbled together. Zeke's voice crackled through the static. Primary and secondary cores are down. They're on emergency power now. Darius is working on the docking bay force fields. Rain allowed himself a moment of grim satisfaction. Months of planning, of gathering scraps of information and components, were finally paying off. The impossible was becoming reality. They rounded a corner, coming face to face with a squad of chitinous guards. Without hesitation, Rain hurled himself forward, using the close quarters to his advantage. His fists and feet lashed out in a fury of precise strikes, targeting weak points in alien anatomies he'd learned through countless arena battles. In seconds, the guards lay broken on the floor. Rain retrieved a key card from one of the bodies, wincing at a deep gash in his side he hadn't even noticed receiving. "You all right, Boss?" Kaito asked, concern evident in his voice. Rain nodded tersely. "Alive. Come on, we're almost there." They pressed onward, the corridors becoming wider and more ornate. They were nearing the heart of the station, and their true objective. Grand Arbiter Zix paced furiously, his spindly legs carrying him back and forth across the observation deck. Around him, panicked dignitaries argued and demanded explanations. "I want those humans found and executed immediately," he shrieked at a trembling subordinate. "How did they even manage to?" The doors to the chamber burst open. Zix turned, mandibles widening in shock as 5 battered, bloody humans strode in. Their eyes blazed with a fury that sent a chill through his exoskeleton. "Hello, Your Honor, the lead human," Rain, if you recalled correctly, said with cold sarcasm. "I believe it's time we renegotiated the terms of our stay here." Zix's guard drones moved to attack, but a gesture from Rain sent them crashing to the floor, disabled by some unseen technological trick. The Grand Arbiter backed away, his wings buzzing in agitation. Now, he stammered, "let's not be hasty. I'm sure we can come to some sort of arrangement that—" "Shut up," this from the dark-skinned human Ziki. His voice was low and dangerous. "You're going to order the release of every human on this station. You're going to provide us with ships. And you're going to give us the coordinates of every other facility where our people are being held." Zix's compound eyes darted between the 5 humans, noting their wounds, the makeshift weapons in their hands, the cold determination in their eyes. These weren't the broken slaves he was used to commanding. These were predators who had rediscovered their teeth. And why, he asked, trying to keep the tremor from his voice, would I do all that? Rain stepped forward, and Zix involuntarily skittered back. The human's lips curled into a mirthless smile. "Because if you don't, we'll release the Chronaxian behemoth into this very room. I imagine your guests would find that form of entertainment illuminating." Terror gripped Zix as he realized the humans had outmaneuvered him completely. With shaking hands, he reached for the control panel. "Very well," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "What are your demands?" Rain stood at the viewport of the commandeered cruiser, watching as the massive gladiatorial space station receded into the distance. Behind him, the ship bustled with activity as newly freed humans tended to wounds, familiarized themselves with alien technology, and planned their next moves. Kaito approached, placing a hand on Rain's shoulder. "We did it," he said softly. "I still can't quite believe it." Rain nodded, his expression grim. "This is just the beginning. We have the coordinates of a dozen other facilities. Thousands more of our people to free." "And after that?" Kaito asked. Rain's eyes hardened as he stared out at the star-filled expanse. "After that, we make them pay. All of them. The entire galactic community stood by while our people were enslaved and slaughtered for sport. They'll learn exactly why taking on humanity was the worst mistake they ever made." Zeke's voice came over the ship's intercom. "Rain, we're receiving transmissions from Earth. It seems news of our escape is spreading. There are uprisings happening all over the galaxy." A fierce smile spread across Rain's face. The yoke of oppression was breaking, and humanity's true potential was about to be unleashed upon an unsuspecting universe. "Set a course for the nearest human detention facility," he ordered. "It's time we reminded the galaxy why you should never, ever underestimate the human spirit." As the ship's engines flared to life, Rain allowed himself a moment of reflection. They had started as slaves, as playthings for the amusement of callous aliens. Now they would become the architects of a new era, one where humanity would claim its rightful place among the stars. The revolution had only just begun.